and then came back with an absolutely controlling performance against Dark Zero yesterday. So will this be another Latin American return to form? I guess this is going to be a tale told as time passes on. Ying and Nomad both removed off the board. It's Cafe. It's a bit aggy. It's a little bit confrontational.
It certainly can be, can't it? We were talking there on the desk about how gun skill has a huge part to play and how a team like MNM, who have been on their form in terms of their gun skill, have been doing quite well. Makes sense to see some more of those operators that can be used to enable aggressive plays removed. The Valkyrie, the Ying.
Good boy, Goya.
Things of that nature. Goya?
That's a first Goya ban.
In the bin. Potentially. Something I should probably know.
Yeah, I mean, I've saved you from the analyst desk.
I'm trying to switch brain at the minute. I'm trying to switch brain profile.
You've got to put it into...
relax.
Would it be a faster gear or a slower gear for Garth?
Just put it into relax
mode. Put it in relax mode, put it into reverse occasionally. What needs to be geared up? Nesk. I know you talked about him a little bit on the desk. You said, well, he wasn't quite there. He definitely wasn't there. He was minus 15, I believe, after the first two maps. You couldn't have a rougher day at the office.
You really couldn't. One of the Nest stats that really stood out to me was his 9% survival rate.
Yeah.
Which is, for Nesk, pretty shocking. And I just don't know if I have sat there and poked the bear. I don't think Nesk's listened, I'll be honest. I think he probably had a bit of something going on. He maybe was a bit busy.
He's probably a bit focused on this.
However, metaphorically speaking, I feel like I may have poked the bear. And if he comes out here now and is just the Terminator that we know him to be, could be a bit of a problem.
I think that's sort of the eyes on. You're always going to have eyes on classic players. The same way you'll have eyes on new players. You get a little bit of a back and forth and a mix of that with Nath playing on the role of MNM. There were a lot of conversations about how they were in addition to the roster, what they sort of brought, and map width, map extensions was one of those things. A very clever brain from the UK scene that can bring a couple of different holds. Let's see if they can break them as well. Solace in the top left. If you've missed the first 2 days, she's everywhere.
Also quite banned.
Yeah.
One of our most banned operators on the defense so far.
I think Azami's the most banned, and you'll just, if they're both on the board, you'll see them both pretty much every round.
Kind of surprising to see them both through, right?
Yeah.
Just goes to show the power of Valkyrie, even though the Valkyrie cameras have been reworked. Now you can't throw them outside like you used to be able to on Cafe or any map for that instance. And then, of course, the Goyo as well, just to really enable those late round executes. Speaking of executes, we're seeing a little bit of action here as Solotov gets himself straight in under the cover of smoke, looking to make a bit of a challenge. Nesk feeling the pressure, has the opportunity to back off ever so slightly.
Is Army going to see how long they can survive? Takes the first fight on the double door, but it just pulls and peels their way back. MNM went full guns blazing there with the glass and the smoke cover. They want to go for the width, but look close left. Oh, he didn't look close left. Palu, he's able to get the head of Solotov off a little bit too late. Those smokes didn't quite buy him the necessity, and there's, a trade back. Users over the top of the bar, gets the player, but it's at a big cost, and Palu's going to see if he can try and double down on that. Swings and pulls back, but 1.5 gone, and they've got a tumultuous bit of damage done inside Bakery.
It's quite an important kill there for Liquid to get. Obviously, they've lost Nesk in the process, but he's playing in that dangerous spot. He's playing where he's just probably going to play his live, play his barricades, and try and waste as much time as possible, and he's done that. There's only around 1 minute and 10 seconds left on the clock. However, on the flip side, you've lost your glass, which is, of course, a big part of using these Capital bolts, using the smokes that you've brought to try and enable and to get a little bit of a push going. And as such, we're just seeing MNM stall out a little bit.
Can they try and push this over the precipice? They don't really have anything driven towards the verticality at this moment in time. So if that turns into a bit of a risk, well, that might be something that comes to bite them in the dying throes of this round. You can see Palu is drifting a bit close, but Capitao has actually gone to try and meet the fight. Rotated up to the top. He's well aware that they need to have cover and make sure they can't get the rotate in. Capcan's aware of that too. They pull themselves around and get the kill as they back themselves. Users pushes pressure into the site at the same time. They're still trying to drive themselves towards getting that kit planted, but with 30 seconds, it has to start culminating in something now.
Tyrant there just going to be holding the flank through into Coat. Doesn't have the fortune of time. User's going to find himself a second. Tyrant getting traded out there 1-for-1. User's actually is in the site now, and Nello's going to get that plant down, but it's going to be a bit too late. Liquid, they may let this plant go down, but they have the numbers to retake. Palu from those red stairs, going to shut him down. He had the angle, he had the info. And Liquid, they've got the first round.
I mean, Palu, if we wanted to have a louder game from some of the star players of Liquid, he didn't have as quiet a game as Nest did. It was kind of a bit of a shakier showing, but still, it's one of the classic guns. It's one of those guns that everybody highlights as one of the ones that, you know, if not now, when? Should they ever ready? Yada yada. Coulda, woulda, shoulda, dida.
Doer.
Nada.
Just do it, Parley.
Just do it.
Just do it.
Just get it in there. And
I mean, he's got 4 kills.
I mean,
What more do we want?
almost
really?
opening the round on ace, taking a glass in a fight with smokes. It's that sort of setup here, and you know, it's early doors. It's your first attack onto it. We go to the train room, the hefty machinery swung on the other side, and to be honest, I guess more used to EU, APAC North, and whatever, but you don't see this site too often in M&M's sort of usual playing field.
No, it is seen as one of those 3rd/4th, leaning on 4th choice sites. But I guess given with the way that M&M attacked that last round, they're feeling pretty comfortable to go there. M&M went very direct last round. They were looking to brute force their way in off the back of kills and off the back of those entries. But because Liquid were able to trade them out, they never really got that advantage. And then too late on into the round, they go and look for a little bit of something else and get, you know, distracted up in train, have a little bit of a gunfight with Parlu. But if you've not done sufficient work vertically, you're always going to struggle to attack in, especially if you're losing out on that trade game. So for me, M&M need to approach this a little bit differently. We need to see more of that full map clear coming in. And Cafe is a very retake-orientated map.
Yeah.
It is expected as a defender that you're not going to be safe in the site that you choose. You tend to hold the periphery, you hold above, you hold below. And that's what you really need to try and play into here as M&M.
Resets on the hunt, and okay, I briefly highlighted how good Solus can be, but to be honest, Cafe is maybe one of the best places. You're looking at quite a narrow route from the bottom to the top. There's a lot of places that she can get in and just cut off any of that instant approach, and also gives them the freedom of the danger of run out. The swing capabilities, whether it's coming out of the door of Bakery on the risk of the double window and going unchecked there, or whether it's on the bottom of White, either way, they have impact, and they have the knowledge they're not being watched. There's the impact. Oh, they're being watched. Sometimes you're just in the right place, and they get the swing on the bottom of White as well. They went for the double, and well, luckily, Liquid were able to somehow pull 2 out of it.
A sort of disconjointed 3-2-1 there going down. Trades going down 2 for 2 equally. You look what's lost on both sides. You've lost users on the sledge, so with it, a couple of nades have gone by the by. Speaking of, Tyrant, he's able to shut Lagonis down with a nicely well-timed grenade there through that piano window. And that's given M&M the edge back, which, let's be honest, they desperately needed it.
Oh,
but
yeah.
now, when you look at what Liquid have got left, they haven't got anything in terms of denial. But they do have 2 fantastic guns.
They got Nesk, they got Parlu. If they have them on their day, they've got the round. Do they have them on their day? I mean, Barlu's 5 kills over the first 2 rounds, and we've still got 3 more potentials ahead of him. They've also got themselves with a little bit of a conjoinment here. It's tough to hold onto this site when you don't really have the manpower to double it down. They've made a backline, but if you're looking into pillars, there's so many places you get swung in from the top end. You can't really dedicate over to that big open space without just getting caught from one of the many different angles. So instead, they've had to do this, formulate themselves around the white stairs, push themselves via the dining room, and hope that the fights that they can take are a little bit more controlled. M&M roll the drones, roll the ideas, and get the hatch broken open, but they're still trying to find these loose threads.
Liquid not really in too much of a position to go looking or searching here. Instead, they have to try and hold themselves down. Information now being exchanged. Nello, bit of a hot drop there in, is able to find the kill and the confirm over onto Parlu. Nest, all that remains, the plant being threatened as it is likely going to start going down. Tyrant knew exactly where Nesk was hiding out there.
That was very clean.
I heard you saying Shaiko, he was in the shop. He was in the middle of shop.
Nice little bit of player comms.
Bit of player comms.
So the mics, I believe, are located in the middle, I think. There's one mic on a desk. I remember them talking about it. We saw the request.
I believe you.
We saw the request, Reddit. We saw that you want to hear more of the players, so...
I like it because whenever we're in the analyst room watching everything, everyone's like, shh, 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 as soon as it comes on, because you're desperate to hear the insights and what the players are saying.
Now, obviously, as far as I'm aware, you only speak English.
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's my first language.
Yeah, it's my first as well.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, we cannot really give you any deep insights as to what is being broken down on the guns of Liquid. However, thankfully, there's a lot of different broadcasts and a lot of different languages. So if you are a Portuguese speaker, I'm sure the Brazilian talent and team can give you a little bit more of an insight onto their mics. We know M&M. We can understand most of them.
Just about.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them are from, you know, strange parts of the UK, so it might take us a little bit of
Nello is from the strangest part of the UK, Croatia. It's a little bit further out there, but yeah, it's good. So as we hear them, if you hear us slow down and stop talking a little bit, which I'm sure some of you will be very happy about, well, listen in and hope they don't swear.
I mean, there's not much we can do about that if they
No,
do.
we
apologize
cannot
in
do
advance.
anything. If you're worried about swearing, please don't be.
It's the price we have to pay to hear someone say, you said he was here and he was actually over there.
Ubisoft knew they were getting into when they put mics on esports desks, especially when you have Canadian in the tournament. Anyway, Ask still on this role. They haven't had the biggest impact. Obviously, they impacted themselves out of the building last time, but it was just being watched. It wasn't on the back of any intel, more of a, well, they usually do this, so let's be aware of it. That's your prep. And there's your Nesk, taken out by Solotov, the spray over the top. They had him on Whiskey Window, and Tyrant was putting the pressure on Piano as well. Pretty easy pickup there from the pair of them. That puts that shield under a lot of pressure. Tyrant gets caught by the run out. It's Ask! Goes on the bottom, was seen by a drone, but all they can see is a little bit of a goodbye.
That is why Solace is banned so often. That is the power of that operator. Not only can you see the drone that the player is on, but you can also see the phone that the player is using to man said drone. Therefore, see the drone, see the player, get an idea. He set all that up for himself. That wasn't even a team-coordinated play. Sure, he got a bit lucky on the second one.
Oh,
If you don't shoot your shot, you never know.
I mean,
Ask has done something to salvage that round and more.
A P90 snap. Them coming back into the game.
I love the P90.
Well, MNM don't, that's for sure. After that first little incident, they are at the man disadvantage for generally the first time in a bit of time here. Can they see if they can try and do something with it? Okay, they lost a bit in the first round, but it was all quite sudden here. They've got to see if they can try and cook and build behind it without that refrag that they were able to make in the first round. Ask. He's tempted by the fight here onto 90. Solotov's just going to slip his way down White and right into the middle of the freezer, inside the middle of the site, gets dropped by Resets, who then gets picked up by Uses' nade. Again, a little bit of scrappy coordination and slinking its way through, but with 40 seconds, Nello is going to stack right on the swing of Bathroom. They have the ping on the far end player. They need to try and double up here with Palu holding off on the far end and the other player inside Cigar. MNM, 30 seconds. What's the play?
Something that MNM are going to struggle here is to root these Liquid players out because they've got no other way of shifting them. Nobody can rotate onto those east windows. No one can go below and do anything significant. So it's going to be down to players pushing on through. Users gets a glimpse. It is going to be a one-for-one trade. Users, you've got 19 seconds and a chance here to take a brief advantage in this game. He knows exactly where one is, puts the shots down, lands, needs the second. Can he find it? No, Laguna, super shorty at close range is going to be enough. A close round for Liquid, maybe closer than it should have been.
Oh, 100% closer, because there was a bulletproof still up on the back line as well. They had all the reads on where the player was going. They knew that the idea was coming together, swinging in for the fight at the end there with the limit on time. I mean, the grenade came in straight afterwards. So at that point, the player had already loosed it there as well. The swing on Lumber, if that was, I don't want to say it, but a step before, then the legs would have been shot up and they would have got the free kill. And nobody would have stepped again. And, you know, it's those little moments of MNM's early game right now that I think we'll warm up into as we progress further into this series.
It's still an early game for MNM. Still an early game. It might not be 10 AM, but it is still early. Something that made me chuckle in that last round was, I'm not sure if Users had the belief that Solotov was going to get the kill, but I feel if Solotov had got the kill in Freezer, Users' nade would have killed him anyway.
Yeah.
It was just kind of getting the job done at that point.
At that point, if he did get the kill on his army, where does he go?
Yeah.
He has to push into Freezer to be safe from the gunfire that's going to come from the split there. So, yeah, it was a moment. And I guess that's the thing. This is the first round we also don't have Solace as well. But Resets is still going to see if he can try and do something a bit sneaky here. Just pulls back.
I do like the fact that Liquid aren't hard picking onto this Solace every single time. We've said that it's so popular and so useful and there's so many fantastic ways that you can implement it, but it's nice to not just solely rely on it. The game has been around a lot longer than Solace has, and there are always ways and means of getting the job done, and you don't want to get too predictable on those jump outs either. That is something that teams will start to cotton onto. Equally, what it has likely done is it has likely slowed MNM down in their approach. And we can see that they've all got themselves up onto the roof this time, or instead of going for a bakery clear, they're going to go for this full map approach, which I think is going to work much better for them.
It's the standard take. onto Cafe. It's always the thing that I sort of highlight is there's verticality you got to be aware of. We think of how this round fell apart. It was Palu playing a little bit loose on the red stairs, putting some destruction in, doing a little bit of the heftier work there, and coming out with a 4K by the end of it. If you had put some pressure from above, he wouldn't have been able to rotate up, sure, and he could have been able to slip his way back towards site, but then you have a little bit more of a control. You can force the player. We see Naif, he's going for the clear onto pillars. There's still some steady work being done elsewhere, and it takes more time, but it just gives you more safety in the grand scheme of things.
This is where the Nomad ban becomes very curious, because if Liquid aren't going to try and roam too heavily, you question why is the Nomad being removed there. Nomads seem to indicate a want and a need to really get out there and get onto that roam. So the fact that they've removed it, it obviously has forced MNM onto a little bit of a different approach. They're going to be going for the Jackal. They haven't actually brought any Claymores. They do have the Gridlock, although that isn't specifically for that flank protection. It can be used as such. It's more often nowadays seen as something that's going to assist you in getting that plant down. Bit of a struggle here, getting open that freezer hatch. The old Cade Claw causing a few problems, just slowing down MNM's approach here, but something that isn't slowed down at all is Uses' skeleton key. He's only got 5 shots left.
Yeah, he's really getting the full whiff of that, getting sure that the Canadian has all the Canadian stuff spent. One of the things I'm also curious about is there's no C4s on the sides of Liquid. They're not going to try and play against the opener, but the fight is going to be flat inside Code. The first is his, the second is to his right. He didn't quite get the full shot. He almost won it out. Lagonis was just tiptoeing on the other side of the bar as well. There was a player not too far away, just on the swing of the seating behind him. So he was pretty much concerned and cornered, but still suddenly a surprise. And you can see Liquid trying to piece it together and go, okay, we can't have somebody just sort of filter their way through into the site. Nesk, blinded, gonna sit and wait for the drop as the spray comes against. 15 seconds, Nello, you gotta try and take the break there. Nesk is able to pop up and get that kit drop. Users gets one back inside the site, but with that wall entirely locked and with no true way to get through on it, they gotta just try and hot foot it round onto the opposite side. Users, he's not gonna make it in time. He just does. It's a 3 versus 1. Arse just has to make the difference. The impact doesn't quite get the full connection. And MNM just hold on from the top down.
Holy shit. By the way, what is that
I maybe think Nello put it well himself there. That was a heck of a round. You want exciting siege? You want exciting action? Don't go anywhere. Uses, I have no idea how he made that play in time. The Banshee slowing him down, immediately went to shoot it, and at that point I already felt like the time was 0-0. He then manages to take 4 steps and still get the plant down.
I mean,
it was in no man's land.
Milliseconds was the difference. The fact that obviously that the wall on the back of Freezer was still soft, and you know, they were trying to get themselves into a place. They lost the cover fight on the door as well. If the vertical player wasn't there, and the other fight, oh, there's just so much there. God, I love Siege. 2-2. MNM, they've been able to get the kitchen back after they lost it the first time round. Can they see if they can, for the first time this game, try and break the deadlock, pull themselves ahead, or will Liquid keep up the trend and get themselves at least a level half?
Not a lot separating these two teams at the moment. As you mentioned there, all square. The way that I see this going, I think we're going to be here for a while.
Oh, yeah.
We had a fairly quick morning.
Yeah, I've like pulled you in now.
Yeah.
Welcome to this side.
Welcome. Yeah.
It's like the, I guess maybe it's just like the English thing. You know, Tim and Des, they always get a 3-map overtime.
They haven't had one yet, have they?
Not yet.
I don't think so.
I don't know if usually it's if Medics is observing them as well.
Oh, is that the trifecta?
Yeah, as we said, Croatia is a distant part of England.
Yeah.
I don't know if Medics is observing this. If he was, I'm sure he'd be saying...
I think he'd have done the signatory spin by now.
He would be saying angry things down my headset. No. The fight over the top. MNM. They were quite good at catching the snappy rotations that came out of the runouts before resets. Is the one that's going to be holding and holstering that powerful P90 as Nesk. They have a kill. And they have a death. Traded out once again, still unable to really get their teeth into SI 2023 yet.
Where is Nesk? I'm going to keep coming back to it. 1-5 right now. Solitos seems to really have his number, especially in that entry and opening engagement. Lagonis, however, is going to find one back onto Nath. So any logic bomb phone calls that you were hoping to use to give you a little bit of a heads up and really give you that advantage in terms of hearing and psyching out your opponents is no longer going to be an option. Toxic Babe canister's already getting used quite quickly, and Lagonis has spent all 3 before the halfway point in the round.
Now, can he hold on for any longer? You're looking at a fight over the top. You're looking at that control that I've talked about, the importance here on Cafe, the forcing of these players further and further away, just into positions where they're not comfortable holding. It's this rotate that comes through from Liquid to stop that. They can have a backline here, watching over to the A site from the white stairs. You have some solid and some awareness of the motions. It's the other side that's a little bit tricky. With what has been taken from above them, they're going to start cracking their way down, you assume, from the side of red, as Tyrant just watches this, the fireplace rotate. Make sure nobody can get directly in. The player, singularly locked inside the train, is really the only direct counter right now outside of a wide swing onto pillars. So you assume MNM has some awareness there as well, but look at resets. The slow potential creep up the bottom of the stairs, watching the angle under the window, and, well, he might be a fly trap ready to eat.
Of course, on Solace as well, so does have that potential to use the gadget, figure out exactly what's going on, any droners, anyone using a gadget, even if a plant is going down. So always to be mindful of that the value is throughout the entirety of the round. Solotov going to come to blows here and find an easy one onto Lagonis. Just catches him looking the other way, has some fortunate timing, but can now look to try and pre-fire on and to further that advance in through dining.
15 seconds, and they've got to start trying to break this into the 2 versus 4 advantage that it is in their favor. MNM, Palu, holding off on the edge for the rotate. They're going for the plant on the opposite side, though, and as one of them slips their way through, it's just sit, wait, watch, and get this done. Resets. He's going for the planter, but he's a little bit too late. You can see that via the gadget, but now the only thing you can see is a 3 versus 1 and a rough 36 seconds at the top middle of his screen, and doesn't see that for very long. Almost the clutch in the play. You think about how we were out of time on that round. The Solar could have defined it, but doesn't.
You see a Solace, you see one impact left, and they're below, and you think, that's the play. That's exactly what Liquid were going for there. It puts so much pressure onto that single player. Resets had everything to do there because his team was not in a position to stop that plant from going down. As we've already mentioned, you play retake on Cafe. That's what you have to do. You have to play retake. So if you're going to commit somebody below, unfortunately for Resets, wasn't able to get it done in time, and he did let that plant go down. Still, MNM 3-2. There is chance here for Liquid to square things up equal at the half.
You find yourself on Cafe, it's MNM's map pick. It's not the worst one for Liquid, it's a great one for the region. I'd still sort of highlight maybe last year's SI, maybe even the year before, that we really got a true taste of how this map can be developed, the tapes.
Yeah, it was as soon as Consulate was removed.
Yeah.
As soon as Consulate was removed, all the LATAM teams were just like, we need something with loads of windows. We can jump out.
Cafe.
We got to Cafe.
Okay. And it can be great. And here, I think, with what they've got on their defense, we talked about the power of Solus, we talked about the power of his army. You know, there is functionality in what the defenders can do here. And I think if Liquid... Excuse me. I think if Liquid...
Sounds like you need to drink some liquid.
I do need to drink some liquid. I have a bottle of water by my feet. If they don't get the even half here, I think it could spell some challenging attacks.
Especially given that we always pick Cafe as a map that is difficult to attack.
Yes.
Not necessarily attacker-sided, that obviously depends region by region, but attackers are made to work for every round on Cafe. Now, MNM currently in the driver's seat there with 3 rounds of their own. If they're able to make that 4, it could be quite meaningful here in this matchup. Slow start. Usually we're seeing a little bit of action inside of this first 50 seconds to 1 minute, but this time, everyone keeping themselves alive. Solotov is usually a player to keep a close eye on as he gets himself onto repels. This time it seems like he's taking a more alternate approach, as we're seeing a little bit of a stack up over toward the east side. Now, Solotov's going to be playing the Nook this time, so he's going to be on backstab duties from below. Previously, when MNM attacked this top floor, they really struggled to root the players out of this cocktail side. East was a big problem. They didn't have anyone on that east repel. They lost man count early and were unable to really affect, as the defenders could just retreat further and further back. This time, they're going a little bit more direct.
Minute 30 passed, and all 10 players still on the board. It's maybe the longest that we've had this as of yet. They're trying to dig themselves underneath the hatch. They have some of the watch on the default skylight. They're hoping a pinch comes towards that player that asks and sort of sweep up here from behind the side of the pillars unchecked. But we did see a Nook that was going on a bit of an adventure elsewhere, and if Solotov is able to find their way towards pillars, well, that can be big. Hey, remember, Solis can see a Nook when they're using their gadget. There's calls, there's trades, there's a bit of motion, and there goes the Nook underneath the push, and the pressure comes onto the back end. Nath is able to find Nesk. There it is. Solotov gets the impact as Palu does catch Nath, and at least buys one back, but Solotov still driving underneath, gets Lagonis, the second player, pushes his way up. The white stairs with resets, caught at the end, and MNM. If you wanted a good 3-2-1 go, well, they just demonstrated it.
What? No. I was whipping so bad. Fucking hell.
If you need a translation from Nave's accent, he's whiffing so bad, bleeping hell.
I'm gonna play Mosian High. I'm gonna play Mosian High. Do that one.
You're from Nate's part of the woods, aren't you?
Yeah, oh, I think he's from East London and I'm from West.
Oh, okay.
So...
Bit of rivalry there somewhere.
Not really. I mean, there's more of a rivalry between, like,
North and south.
same bits of London. Yeah,
Right.
above the river, down below the river. East and east, they'll hate each other. It's where your football clubs are.
Right.
It's you know, that's the sort of make or break of friendships in London. Yeah, you're not going to have a Chelsea and a Tottenham fan in the same room. Not that I'm a fan of either, but...
I do enjoy listening to Nate talk. He has got a bit of a way with words, but yeah, obviously not feeling himself on his shot so far today. He's still 4-on-4, not doing terribly. The big playmaker in that round, though, was of course Solotov.
Yep.
And Nate, while he may have whiffed a few shots, he was playing on the Dokkaebi. And guess what enabled all of those calls and all of those kills? It was the Dokkaebi call. All you could hear whenever we were flicking onto a player cam, regardless of which side it was the phone call ringing, and that is just such a huge audio cue that these players will use to root those defenders out. Liquid getting caught out there, losing out on an equal split here on the defense. They've given themselves some really hard yards to do now here, as they've got to go out on their attacks and perform.
As we said, he kind of wanted the even half there for Liquid. Not that it's impossible to attack this map, but this map does not make it easy, and I'm still going to double down on the idea that having the Azami is one thing that's going to make it more problematic. Do like, you know, we saw Solotov go towards the Mozzie, bring that in. It was the last bit of conversation we were able to pick up to control the drone game, limit what can be put against them. They're not going to run with the Solis. For all that she can bring, it's always down to the team, what they feel comfortable bringing, and to be fair, it's, as you said, been banned quite a lot, so there's more than one way to crack an egg, and the egg being a drone in this. If you weren't up to pace with my egg drone based analogy.
I'm glad that you clarified, I'll be honest. I wasn't sure where we were going with that one. Drone is something that Liquid are struggling with at the moment. They've only got 6 left. We've only seen around a minute, so they have spent quite a few so far, and of course, the Mozzie isn't going to help matters there either. Nesk there just losing out one of his nades. As we can see, the firebolts from Capitao just dissipating there as Nath is able to keep himself alive, but only just. The magnets will regenerate over time, but he's not going to be worried about that as he's getting pushed here and caught looking the wrong way. Resets finds one, Nesk a second. Solotov now trying to pick up some pieces, but he too gets caught out. Liquid, they are sweeping through this top floor.
That was so sudden. They threw the grenades and moved in right behind them. Users does get one more as the pressure starts to come its way down towards it, but that was very, very well played there. As we said, we saw the sort of barrage of grenades. The drop came on the hatch and the skylight at the same time, with the fight sort of pinching out the player. Nave tried to swing into one of them, but as he saw, didn't quite expect the second. However, you've got the vertical. It's a big part of reading. Now you can clear yourself up with some control around Pillar's door and just try and eke that plant in on the door itself. That is what they're trying to get done here, and that is what they're going to start focusing on. Forcing the players further and further away, so they're not confident to swing it. They can't quite long arm some of it. You've not really got anything they can long arm with at this moment in time. They obviously didn't bring the smoke, and the C4 is used, so how are MNM going to stop this?
They're going to have to play this one quite close to their chest. Lagonis looks like he's going to be making his way in, gets a glimpse of a player, just rotating on, gets the glimpse of the second and will be able to land. Jesus, what a shot onto Lagonis, keeps himself alive, but only momentarily. Neski started the round and he is going to end it, picking up that final kill. Nesk on attack, is that the buff that we needed? Because he didn't do much on defense.
I mean, if it's the buff he needs, it's what he needs. You always want to see Nesk perform. It's no two ways. If you're a fan of Siege, you're a fan of Nesk. You sort of have the two as synonymous. And it's like if you buy a ticket to go see PSG play, you want to see Messi score a goal. Otherwise, you're like, come on, pull it out. Sort it out.
Do the thing.
Do the thing. Like,
do the thing, mate.
That's what the capability is. And I'm sure I've incised parts of chat is saying, Neska's messy? Is that a comparison? I don't care. It's my comparison I made.
I think there's an argument.
There's definitely an argument. Who's the CR9 then? No, okay. I'm not going to go down that because that will incite arguments in the chat. No, 3-4, Liquid, a good attack. As I said, I loved the play behind the grenades on the top. It's how you take that top is with a sort of smash and grab energy.
Look at the 6 picks coming through here from Liquid as well. Obviously, either not anticipating the kitchen or making a last-second change. Going to be bringing a Flores, dropping a Buck, dropping an Ash, and bringing an IQ. Obviously, the IQ seeing a little bit of a soaring pick rate, given that the defenders have essentially got an IQ of their own in Solace. It isn't going to do too much here in terms of electronics, as there aren't that many knocking around. You can, of course, highlight and target those mute jammers, which from above could be a good idea. In the meantime, we're just going to hear those Flores drones ripping off in the distance, removing the deployable shield just on the side of Christmas Tree as Nella takes a good chunk of damage here. He's going to have to open the hatch and drop himself back. Of course, for all the roaming and for all the presence that he's had on that side of the map, it is leaving a large gaping hole in the defense.
Yeah, it makes things a bit awkward. As we've said many, many times, when you're trying to get this vertical control, you're sort of hoping you can waste as much time as possible. Here, with the damage they've done, with Parley pressured where he is, about a minute's passed, and, well, so have all the players. They've moved themselves on. MNM have pulled themselves back down. They're otherwise structured with the hatch open as well. That, for a lot of teams, is a lot of busy work. Hey, remember when we saw that on an MNM attack, where they had about 2 seconds? Because of getting that hatch open, getting that control, it just gives Liquid a little bit more to work with. And as they proved in the previous round, they're more than happy to take those motions into their own gameplay. The pressure will start to come across the floor, pillars, and the second story becomes the first, becomes eyes to the site.
Slowly but surely, Liquid starting to take this mid-map control and do a little bit of renovation work, getting some of this floor open, breaching charges, hammers, anything you can really throw at ripping open that floor and making the defenders feel uncomfortable. It is going to force the defenders just to the periphery of the site. Nello has got himself tucked in, doesn't have a great deal of health to speak of, and is really just playing for one player, dropping that hatch. Could be about to get stunned out here, as Warden could be required there in that position, but Lagonis just going to think better of it for the time being. There's still a good amount of time left here for Liquid to make something happen. Toxic Babe canisters now, just to slow this hatch a little bit, as we see nades cooked from above, but neither are far enough to do the lick of damage that is required. A drop comes through from a clone. Nello quickly on it. That's only an aim trainer for what is to come. More nades getting sent down through this hatch, but they aren't reaching their mark. Liquid, they are getting so tunnel vision here on dealing with this one player, and now Solotov's made it into the fray. He's activated the glasses and he is ready to strike. Picks himself one. Nesk did trade out onto Nello, and we'll find a second. He's going crazy inside of the site here, but where's the kit? It's cold on the ground. There are still 3 members alive here for MNM. Is Nesk going to do a Usus and manage to save this round? Pre-fires on through into Christmas, but he's getting pushed from pillar and post. Nate finds one, Tyrant a second. The plant's going to go down, but it's going to be too late. It will likely be confirmed, but there is more than enough man count here for MNM. Nest comes off at the last second, knowing what is becoming him.
A little bit of Nello there. Survived 4 grenades. 4 grenades with like 10 HP, and then died to the drop that came through there. Tech timeout is being called by Team Liquid now for a little bit, and fair enough, because things aren't really going so swimmingly as you said. They were so blinkered into the play. Solotov, perfect place for a man with glasses that can see through the smoke, putting the kit in the corner. A huge pick. I don't speak Portuguese. I don't.
There'll be someone that does. In the chat, I mean.
Chat, translate.
You can tell a lot by the tone.
Are they saying it's Kagan time? Is that what they translate?
Well, they're going to have to start saying something, because Liquid at the moment, not playing to the full potential.
No.
They haven't got that killer instinct, they haven't got that bite. And when was the last time we saw Liquid so hell-bent on one idea and one idea only? I can think back, and it was a couple of years ago. It was in a much more structured, a much older Liquid before they got a little bit more fluid and a little bit more creative in their ideas. Now, there are many ways to attack into that bakery. One of them is to drop the freezer hatch, but it needs to come with something else.
We'll take a moment here to sort of, I guess, see the positives in what Liquid's doing. Is that Nesk has definitely started to grow into this. I think 4 of his 5 kills, I think, have come over the past 2 rounds. And that is a huge sign. You need that because you look over to the other side and who's popping off, but literally the parallel on the screen uses 12-4. He is a player that is terrifying when they pop off and get into it. Nello, sure, playing that support role. They survived 4 grenades. They're the reason that the push took so long. If we talk about that time being handed to them, he sure made up for it in just surviving. So much utility.
That's one of the reasons why I just love Nello as a player.
Yeah, that's what he needs to do.
Thankless tasks.
Yeah.
1 and 6. What is the reason that MNM won round 8?
Yeah.
And has been the reason they have won previous rounds in this game as well.
Every stack needs a Nello. Ours is Tim.
Reloading.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's true. Every stack needs a Nello.
Every stack needs a Nello. It also helps if every stack has a Usus as well. 5-3. MNM, can they try and push themselves onto map point? I'm quite curious to see what resets does. As I said, sometimes smash and grab is a real good bit of energy for clearing that top floor, and they're in the perfect smash grab position. They just need the right call to come through at the right time, and then suddenly they can swarm their way over the back line of the top floor and force that player into a fight that might be a little bit uncomfortable for them.
MNM are playing a really sort of passive playstyle at the moment. They've got both a Solace and a Pulse. So they're really looking to allow these players to come in above resets. He's going to actually Gyro Hook onto Nello. You don't get to see that every day. I tell you, that's some of the timing that Tim would suffer as well.
Yeah.
Really unfortunate. Ask is going to be traded back. Looks as though Nate's got himself in a nice spot here. He is just waiting for the right time to pounce. I don't think that anybody knows he is just tucked in here.
I cannot believe we've just had a Gyro Hook kill in the tournament. That is surely the first.
First ever. First one I've seen.
At a major, maybe even.
It was only the symbol.
Spencer,
yeah.
Stats. All right, 5-3, and they've got themselves a bit of ground here. 1 apiece. There was an important fight that we didn't truly comment on that was asked. That was down at Pillar's doorway. That was 1 out. Nafe, do they know? Yes, is the answer. Nesk gets the swing round, saves the life for Lagonis, who was tucked on the corner. You just saw there, Nesk drone must have got the swing on the player, and well, it could have been defining. What it does define now is the verticality has fallen into the favor. The spray comes against Tyrant. He's just going to slip and slink his way a little bit closer towards the possibility of the engagement and hide behind the one bit of solid that this wall really has, which is that pillar.
Tyrant needs to be crafty here, and he's one of the better players positionally for my money. He has actually got himself in a really nice off angle here, but he's going to lose the engagement. Recess with the swing there, finds himself yet another, and the plant will start to go down. Solotov, he gets downed in action himself. Usus might find himself 1 here, but is unlikely to do much more as the final couple of kills come through, and Liquid, they respond. That timeout working wonders for him.
I mean, off the back of a Gyro Hook kill, I still love that that happened. Do you know what I've observed in my 3 days casting this tournament? I've now seen a Gyro Hook kill, and I've seen Grim. Equally likely.
2 things that just shouldn't happen.
2 things that you don't expect to see in a tournament. 1 and a piece. Yeah, I mean, as you said, you need to win the round after a timeout. There's nothing more demoralizing than taking a timeout and losing the immediate round afterwards. I think a team that's really good at this, at breaking that game, is BDS. If there's ever a tag timeout and BDS are on a defense, what you'll notice is they change the site that they were going to hold because they're like, they expect this, let's throw everything to the wind. And just little moments like that are like, okay, that's a good mindset. But it's a very important thing, as I said. We've got a couple of changes. The Lion and the Dockerby are in position now, maybe to try and curtail and control the loose thread play. They're the team that banned Nomad, so they've got to come up with an alternative to limiting MNM.
MNM are playing really well into the Nomad ban as well. You saw where Nath was positioned inside of Piano last round. That isn't something that you would necessarily get away with if there was a Nomad on the board, because you would expect the flanks to be a little bit more heavily held. Now, with the Dokkaebi coming through, Dokkaebi, again, by the way, is something that we have seen a tremendous ban rate for throughout the course of SI so far. Hiding in a little corner just isn't going to be as possible. Solotov, he misses out on a chance there at an opening engagement. Lion Scan isn't going to do too much to concern him, as he can just dip himself back and keep himself alive.
Yeah, he's out of there. He's taking the long route round. And as we said, if one focus is coming out from this setup, it's control of those loose players. They actually played a little bit of gridlock in the previous round, but we didn't really hear too much of the ka-chunk, because, to be honest, when it came to it, everyone was already dead. So you're sort of still trying to structure the pairing, once again, the control of the space with his army, with the Solus. They're making sure that they've got to try and find these players, and Solotov's going to long out the fight for as long as possible. What he hopes here is somebody goes on the camera on those windows or gets close, but they just keep doing this. Pings, pops, IQ with the peppered shots. Remember, they're the one person who can see Solus.
I love the interchange between all these different operators now. It's like, we're going to give him a Dokkaebi call, then I can see him on the scanner, then I'm going to try it because he can see me if I'm on the scanner. There are so many little mini games that get played now, and it makes you really got to think and really got to provide a little bit of teamwork to get things like that done. Solotov, fortunately for him, gets away without a lick of damage. And Liquid, they've spent a good deal of time as well, getting ready for a bit of a hop-in now, as we can see the player just getting into the top of Lumber there. That player is going to be Nesk. Immediately gets taken out by Tyrant as he finds himself two. Users adds on to the pain before Resets does anything. Lagonis, he's a hot drop and a desperate attempt here as Resets, he's got himself into a real sticky spot. Does eventually shut down Solotov, but Lagonis, he's got a hard engagement up ahead of him. No information, doesn't know the player's tucked in there into the freezer. And that player is going to be Nello with the Alder. Still a ton of time left here.
That's it. The shots across the bow, they give the statement where he is. Usus gets reset down white, and now it's just Lagonis. He's in a bit of a scrappy engagement. There's a rotate coming around behind him towards Cigar, I believe, but it's not necessary. MNM, they push themselves onto map point. What do they say?
He was like 30 HP, but then 70? No, he wasn't 70. He was 30 HP.
You know it's going well when they're arguing about how many HP someone is. You called him at 70, he was 65.
God, sort
What are you playing at? We're at SI, for goodness sake.
If you don't have stack synergy on numbers called out, no, it's good to see. I had a couple of questions of how that you were sort of going by it. When Nesk swung in onto white, it was like he was oblivious to anybody that was in Pixel Corner, and that just turned into a free kill on the pickup there. And you know, the Azami barricades had been thrown inside towards Whiskey just moments before. They were watching from that window. They had the impression a player was there, and you just wonder what the slip through was. Maybe they expected to fight elsewhere. Unfortunately, we don't truly know the test. What we do potentially have is maybe the first running of Sens today.
Then we really will have seen everything.
Oh, if Sens gets a kill.
10 seconds remaining.
Is that
Okay, no. It's not that. It's if. Oh, I didn't get Sens. If Sens is played and the gadget goes off how it's supposed to.
In the direction.
In the direction that you intended to throw the gadget, that's how you know. That's like the third. This is like fresh to this bingo. This is impossible bingo. Bingo where no one's a winner.
Bingo level impossible.
Okay. What can we do from this point onwards? We start to have now a Liquid with their backs against the wall.
It's not looking good for Liquid, is it?
No.
MNM did a fantastic job on their attacks, and it all circles back to that for me. MNM did such a great job at getting that advantage, getting that 4-2 split. It's put the pressure on from the word go, because if this had been 3-3, would have been very, very different moving into what could be the final round here. Liquid going to be attacking onto this kitchen again, going for a very similar approach, as we see the Flores drones come through to remove some of those deployable shields. It is quite similar to the last time. However, one of the adaptations is they've not got a book or a sledge this time.
No, they are missing some of that control above, but it seems like they might want to direct line themselves closer in. The smoke starts to pop off, the movement behind it. Ness gets Solotov on the first swing. Tyrant under huge pressure, but wins it out. The Flores drone and the Nook themselves cement the kill. Huge dedication towards lifting that player out from the bar side and forcing it into a more uncomfortable situation. Liquid, they've driven themselves in on the ground floor. They are way more focused on this. Let's just put the pressure directly to the site. Let's not play around with their games that happen all the way across the board and instead sort of go, this is where we need to be. Let's be there. Use us. Maybe the only stopping force for now is just going to stop the force and pull himself back.
Nades coming down this freezer hatch once again. Where have we seen this before? No more nades left.
Unfortunately, too long.
I mean, fortunately for Liquid, there's no nades left. So they have to come up with an alternate plan this time.
Oh no.
They can't just try and tunnel vision onto that.
Again.
But they do need to do something, because for all that they've got a man count advantage here, there are still some very craftily positioned players for MNM. We look at Nate's position, a little bit off-site, Usus, he's ready to get active. You can see he's itching, and more importantly, there's still 2 C4s alive. Bit of info trickling through here now for Usus. Doesn't want to give too much of the game away, or get himself in too much of a hefty engagement, but he might just do that as he takes a ton of damage through the hatch.
Oh, it's so close. Everybody is itching for an engagement, as he said. So much like just shoulder peeking and jiggling out with Nafe getting asked. Puts us into the 3 versus 3, the blinds and the pressure, and suddenly it's MNM! Blinked and missed. MNM positioned in a place to sort of say, this is our kitchen, and the only thing being